Vision was created by Ultron in an attempt to kill the Avengers, seeking revenge against his longtime enemies. The robot used the brain patterns of Simon Williams, also known as Wonder Man, to create the android's mind, and had a copy of the original Human Torch he utilized to create the body. Unbeknownst to Ultron, the Time Lord Immortus had an influence on Vision's creation, in an effort to nurture a relationship between the android and the Avenger Scarlet Witch, in order to prevent the powerful heroine from ever having children. Immortus did this out of fear of the potential offspring, as any children of Wanda would be powerful enough to threaten the cosmic order of the Marvel Universe. Vision was sent to lead the Avengers into a trap. Wasp was the first Avenger to meet him, and the android was convinced by the Avengers to turn on his creator. He joined the team after proving himself in combat against Iron Man, Thor, and Captain America. As an Avenger, Vision worked with the team to battle many villains, including Yellow Jacket, Surtur, and the Swordsman. But it would not take long for Ultron to take control of his creation. Vision was forced to rebuild his master using an extremely strong substance known as adamantium, as well as to battle with his teammates on the Avengers. The android regained control of himself and helped defeat his creator after a lengthy encounter. Accepted once more onto the team, he and the Avengers would battle more villains, including Kang the Conqueror, the Masters of Evil, Ronan the Accuser, and many others. The encounter with Ronan and the Kree led to the Avengers disbanding briefly, until it was realized that the American government had been taken over by the Skrulls. The team reformed, defeated the aliens, and resumed life as Avengers. They faced more enemies after this, including Ares and the other Olympians. Vision had an encounter with the villain called Grim Reaper, who is Wonder Man's brother. This proved interesting, as the villain believes that the android is his brother, due to Vision sharing Simon Williams' brain structure. Grim Reaper caused Vision to become embroiled in a plot that nearly led to the capture of the entire Avengers team. Thanks in no small part to the Scarlet Witch, this calamity was prevented. As a result of this encounter, Vision and Wanda first recognized their feelings for one another. The relationship between these two developed until they fell in love and eventually married and retired to a quiet life in New Jersey. In spite of Immortus and his plans, Wanda was able to use her substantial power to allow the couple to have children of their own, and they had 2 twin boys together named Thomas and William. Before his retirement, Vision served on the Avengers with distinction, demonstrating a strong sense of duty and heroism. During one encounter with Annihilus, the android was temporarily shut down and paralyzed when he woke up. For a time, he could only assume a holographic form, until eventually taking control of his body once more. He became the leader of the Avengers, but his injury left him mentally unstable. This resulted in the Vision nearly taking over the entire network of Earth's computers, and was only stopped thanks to his fellow Avengers. The android was returned to his normal self, but a coalition of nations now watches the hero closely, worried what will happen if he is ever corrupted again. Immortus would also return as an enemy of Vision. Manipulating rogue agents of the United States government, the android was abducted and dismantled. The Avengers saved the machine once more, and Dr. Pym rebuilt him. This event resulted in a change in his appearance. Additionally, Simon Williams refused to allow his brain patterns to be used once more, so Vision was left without emotions and his original personality. His children are then revealed to be fragments of the soul of the demon Mephisto, after the Lord of Hell was broken apart earlier by Franklin Richards. The twins were absorbed back into the demon when Mephisto was reformed, leading to the Scarlet Witch temporarily losing her sanity, and the dissolution of her marriage to Vision. For a time, each hero operated on separate Avengers rosters, with Vision serving on the West Coast iteration of the team. Vision was gradually restored to normal during this period. He gained a new body resembling his old form, and adopted the brain patterns of a deceased scientist named Alex Lipton. Simon Williams' brain patterns also re-emerged within the android, combining with Lipton's mind and restoring Vision's full capacity for emotion, as well as a personality closer to his original state. He also had an unusual encounter with the 15th version of Ultron, during which time they forged an almost father-son bond between one another, and worked together to defeat a villain named the Anti-Vision, who was from an alternate universe. The android was later badly damaged by the sorceress Morgan Le Fay, though eventually was once again rebuilt to a full recovery. During the healing process, Vision gave up on any hope of reconciling with his wife. But he did retain a fondness for her Romani culture, and would visit a restaurant that specifically caters to the Roma because he enjoys the ambience. Returning to the core Avengers team, he would resume life as a hero for a while. After 2 brief relationships with teammates Carol Danvers and Mantis, Vision would attempt to reconcile with his ex-wife once more. But the experience brought up her grief over their lost children, apparently driving her to insanity once more. Wanda would attempt to recreate her children using her powers over chaotic magic, but this attempt led to the complete destruction of the Avengers. Thanks to the Scarlet Witch, Vision lost control over his body, crashing the Quinjet into the Avengers mansion. He then spawned 5 versions of Ultron before She-Hulk, driven to a breaking point by Wanda's attacks against the team, tears her old friend to pieces. The android's operating system and program files were later used in the creation of the time-traveling Iron Lad's armor, and Vision himself would briefly return during the Chaos Wars storyline. Following the events of Fear itself, Tony was able to rebuild the Avenger, and he resumed his life as a hero. The android expressed no malice towards She-Hulk for her actions, understanding perfectly well who was really responsible for his death. Vision then traveled to Utopia, an island that once served as the X-Men's headquarters. There, he confronted Magneto and demanded to know the current location of Wanda Maximoff. But the Master of Magnetism refused, and used his powers to subdue the android. However, Magnus restrained himself from destroying the Avenger, knowing that his daughter still cares for him and not wanting to cause her any more grief. Captain America later has a talk with the android and tells him that he needs to move on. But this would prove impossible following Wanda's return during the events of Avengers vs. X-Men. He banned her from the mansion, unwilling to forgive the fact that she used his body to attack their friends, though it is clear that the android still cares deeply for his former love. He would later join with Hank Pym's team called Avengers AI, working with other machines to help make this world a better place. While on this version of the Avengers, Vision was evolved into a being composed entirely of nanobots, increasing his powers and abilities. Recently, Vision has joined the Avengers Unity Division, traveling to counter Earth in order to find the Scarlet Witch. A second Vision was created after aspects of the original android was used to empower the armor of the hero Iron Lad, whose real name is Nathaniel Richards. Nathaniel was a teenager who found out that he will one day become Kang the Conqueror. Not wanting to grow up into a villain, Iron Lad traveled back in time to discover plans the original Vision had in the event the Avengers were ever defeated. Using these plans, he assembled a team dubbed the Young Avengers. Iron Lad was eventually forced to remove his armor when it was learned that Kang was tracking it. Vision's operating system took over after he left, becoming a sentient being in its own right. When Richards returns to his home time period, he left the armor behind and allows Vision to remain active. Initially, the robot was kept in custody of Iron Man, out of fear that Kang would be able to control him. He determined that this Vision was enhanced by the Iron Lad armor, which was made out of future technology. However, this Vision seems to lack the experience and maturity of his original counterpart. That being said, this version of Vision had a personality that varied between different writers. Some treated this character like the original Vision reborn, while others saw this version as an entirely new character. In either case, Vision opted to stay with the Young Avengers, saying he is proud to see his original plan for the new Avengers has come to life, and wanting to serve as a mentor for the young heroes. With his help, they are able to stop a war between the Kree and Skrull empires. The young Avengers sided with Captain America during the Civil War, during which time Vision played a major role in the final battle by disabling Iron Man's armor. He also fell in love with former teammate Cassie Lang. After the war, Vision traveled around the world in order to develop an identity of his own. Realizing he is his own person, distinct from Vision or Iron Lad, he chooses to adopt the name Jonas and starts a relationship with Cassie. He and Stature secretly joined the Mighty Avengers, while still working with the Young Avengers, though in part this was due to a manipulation by Loki. They served with the team even after this revelation, and Vision played an important role in saving the world from the likes of AIM as well as the Skrulls, until this team was disbanded following the events of Siege. During the events of Avengers Children's Crusade, Cassie was killed by Dr. Doom. Iron Lad, having recently returned, also had feelings for the girl, and insisted on taking her body back to the future in the hope that he could save her. Jonas tries to stop him, suggesting that such an action is something that Kang the Conqueror would do. This enrages Richards, who is jealous of the android's relationship with Cassie, so he murders Jonas. His teammates are upset at this death and consider rebuilding him. They ultimately decide against it for a few reasons. First, and most importantly, they lack the 30th century technology that was used to create this version of the android. Second, even though they have a backup of his memory, it doesn't include the events leading up to his death, meaning that he'd have to find out about Cassie's death all over again. Finally, fellow teammate and best friend of Cassie, Kate Bishop, prefers to believe that her friend Jonas are somehow together in death. Jonas is not resurrected and instead remembered fondly by his friends. A memorial of him stands with Scott and Cassie Lang in the Avengers Mansion grounds, though, unlike Jonas, both father and daughter have since been resurrected. Other versions of Vision have appeared throughout comic book history as well. First is the Ultimate Vision. This is a female alien robot that came to Earth to warn humanity about an upcoming threat. She develops a relationship with Ultimate Sam Wilson, but is sadly forced to sacrifice herself during the events of Cataclysm in an effort to stall Galactus. Another Vision appears in the Ultimate Universe, and this one resembles the classic Vision much more closely. This character is named Robert Mitchell, and he is a young prodigy who was given superpowers by the Ultimate Nick Fury. A third Vision from an alternate universe was a member of Weapon X until he was destroyed by his teammate Hyperion. Vision appears in the MC2 universe as well, where he retired from the superhero life and worked for the President of the United States until agreeing to come out of retirement to join a new generation of Avengers on a team called A-Next. A Vision from the 31st century has also appeared in the Guardians of the Galaxy title. This character was called Mainframe, and was the chief operating system of an entire planet. Mainframe would go on to join a team called the Galactic Guardians. Another Vision appeared in the Marvel Mangaverse, as a boy genius who inhabited the body of a robot and joined that world's Avengers. This version had his powers disabled by Dr. Doom, who proceeded to crush the boy's head. An amalgam version of Vision was once depicted, combining with the Red Tornado to form a hero called Red Vision. In the dark and twisted Cancerverse, where nobody could die and everyone was corrupted by the demonic, Lovecraftian beings known as the Many-Angled Ones, the Cancerverse Vision led a group of rebels constructed entirely through science and therefore could not be corrupted by the demons. This Vision worked with the mainstream versions of Thanos and the Guardians of the Galaxy to return death to this broken universe. The original Vision was considered entirely human, but every organ and part of his body was made from synthetic parts. He possessed a solar jewel in his forehead, which absorbs enough solar energy to power the android. The jewel can also fire beams of infrared and microwave radiation, And although this ability is very powerful, it exerts a tremendous amount of energy and can drain the android quickly. Therefore, Vision prefers to generally use his eyes to fire weaker optic beams that consume less power. The android is also able to manipulate his own body's density by interacting with an unknown dimension from which he can add or subtract his own mass. This allows him to become light enough to fly or phase through solid objects, or heavy enough to rapidly increase his strength, resistance, and durability. He can reach a density 10 times greater than that of depleted uranium. For reference, that means he can become almost 20 times as dense as lead. He is able to use his phasing abilities to partially solidify within people, causing an effect he describes as physical disruption. This is an effective technique for incapacitating Vision's enemies. Vision has enhanced senses, stamina, reflexes, speed, and agility. He also naturally has super strength, even when not manipulating his own density. However, his strength is still greatly improved when his density is increased. Vision is capable of manipulating his own voice freely, able to give himself the voice of any human or robot. He was trained in unarmed combat by Captain America, and is very skilled at using his powers in combat. The android is also an expert on his own construction and repair, and, thanks to his synthetic mind, possesses mental abilities concerning strategy, intelligence, and analysis at a level and processing speed far beyond a normal human. Upon joining Avenger's AI, his evolved protocols were activated, transforming his body into one controlled by millions of nanobots. The exact nature of this transformation and the effects this has had on his powers has not been fully understood at this time. The android does have one notable weakness. His similarity to human beings means that he has certain emotional weaknesses like any other person, and it does leave him vulnerable to certain substances which can affect him just as it would any other human. Of course, this does depend on who is writing Vision at the time, as in some instances he can be affected by toxic gas, whereas others he's completely immune to such things. The Vision appearing in the Young Avengers series is able to use Iron Lad's armor to recreate the abilities of the original android, but, thanks to the 30th century technology he was built from, Jonas is also capable of manipulating energy, projecting holograms, shape-shifting, and time travel. Hello and welcome to Comic Island. My name is Arden and this is my origin and bio for Vision. So yes, with Age of Ultron on the horizon, I figured it was time to do something regarding this upcoming movie. I'm pretty excited for it, but it feels like everybody is talking about Ultron, so I thought it might be nice to focus instead on Vision, a character who will no doubt play a big role in this upcoming film. And this is a pretty cool character. I really like that Marvel has an Avenger that is fully and completely an android. Vision serves almost exclusively as a hero and a force for good. It goes against the tired plot device of all machines and all technology being evil and out to kill humans. Instead, he's treated like what he is, namely a person made out of synthetic parts. He's granted the utmost respect by his teammates and functions like any other character from a writing perspective. He strives to overcome his shortcomings, and even forges bonds of friendship and love with his teammates. That's really cool, and in my eyes, the most appealing aspect of this character. The only thing I'm not a fan of is his appearance. I've always found that Vision, his design, and especially his color scheme to be a bit off-putting. It always seems to stand out because I just don't like this combination of colors that are associated with this character. It's not a big deal, just ugh. Red, green, and yellow do not combine nicely together. Now as far as recommendations go, I love the Young Avengers and the Children's Crusade, and those are great stories featuring the Jonas character. That being said, I can't say I recommend a lot of the earlier stuff with the original Vision. Most of his story takes place during an unfortunate period in Avengers history, where things got a little too much like a weird, sci-fi-ish soap opera for my taste. Oh no, our children are actually made out of Mephisto. That's odd. Miss Marvel just had a son, and now she's going to marry. Oh god, I can't even do that. It's just stay away from Avengers titles from the 1980s to the early 2000s if you know what's good for you, because a lot of what I read was not fun. Though I did find the Avengers titles from the 60s and 70s a great deal of Silver Age style fun, if you're into that sort of thing, and I would actually recommend that stuff. This is a cool character, and hopefully one we're going to see more of going forward. It was fun to tell his origin story, so let me know what other characters you'd like to see us cover in the future in the comments section below. We also have all our existing origins and bios on one convenient page at our website. And finally, don't forget to like, subscribe, and keep reading comics.